Did my new girlfriend witness my family's past events? Posted by Deathwords Enhanced. The first people I introduced my new girlfriend to was my nan and pop, my dad's mother and father. On our visit, my girlfriend and I slept over their place in separate bedrooms as my nan and pop were strict about that kind of thing. In the middle of the night, my girlfriend came to my room and woke me up saying to be quiet and just listen. But there was nothing but the faint snoring of my nan in the next room. Whatever spooked my girlfriend, she couldn't hear anymore either. I wondered if my girlfriend was pretending to be scared so we could sleep together. But then she explained that even though she knew my grandparents were both asleep in their bedroom, she had been sat up in bed in the other room listening to a full-on conversation, clear as day, out in my grandparents' kitchen. But the thing was the voices, she said, were definitely my nan and occasionally my pop arguing with what sounded like their daughter, who my girlfriend didn't even know that they had had. My girlfriend said they were arguing about going to a party or being driven or something. I immediately made my girlfriend swear that she had no prior knowledge of my family. Then I told her that I had never met my auntie. At age 21, her, my dad 19, and his best mate, who I was named after, was to go to a party. But my dad had slept in and they decided to go without him so that his mom and dad, my grandparents, would drive my dad instead. On their way to the party, my grandparents and father came across the wreckage with both his sister and best friend passed away in it, hit by a drunk driver. My girlfriend was truly scared and didn't want to sleep alone in the other bedroom anymore, especially knowing it was my auntie's. Weird experience I had where I felt like there was a glitch that allowed me to see what was coming down the road. Posted by Sita 2000. About 4 years ago, I had a very weird experience that had stuck with me ever since. I was driving home from work, and it was about 4 a.m. It was pretty much just me on the road at that hour. I have driven this exact route many times and have never seen a deer, especially since this particular stretch of the freeway was far away from the mountains where most the deer tend to reside. But as I'm driving along, I feel like things slow down. And then all of a sudden, I see a part of the road that I'm not actually going to reach for a couple minutes. I see a doe walking out of some trees on the right side of the road, look my direction, and then slowly walk to the left side and disappear off into some shrubs. In an instant, the view in front of me changed back to where I physically am on the road. As I approached the place I just had this vision of, I decided to slow down since I was going about 70 miles per hour and figured if a deer is truly going to cross, I should prepare. And sure enough, I get to that particular stretch of road. The deer walks out of the trees, looks at me, and wanders off into the shrubs on the left, exactly how I just saw it a couple minutes before. If I hadn't slowed down, I would have had very little to no time to react and probably would have hit that deer. Apparently my friend was never at this baby shower. Posted by adorable_Archer. Okay, listen. I'm not sure if this counts, but here goes. So a good friend of mine, we'll call her Jessica, announced in 2019 she was pregnant. She invited me to her baby shower, July 2019. It was in a church, attended by some family and her friends. Well, I brought my child along with me, and I see another friend. I'll call her Ashley, and I say, "Oh, hey, Ashley, how are you?" We talk. My friend Jess opens her gifts, pictures were taken, we played some games, then all went home. Well, Ashley ended up working where I worked sometime in late 2019 to early 2020, and I talked to her in the break room and said, "Hey, it's good to see you again after seeing you at Jessica's baby shower last summer." She looked at me confused and said, "What baby shower?" I went on to explain the baby shower last summer and how we talked there and even showed her a picture of Jessica. She responded with, "Yeah, I don't know her." I said something like, "Oh, sorry, I think I was thinking of someone else." I am extremely adamant I saw her there though. And I haven't asked my friend Jess if she remembered this girl since I don't want to sound crazy, you know? It's just baffling to me because she was there. I recognized her immediately from a job we worked at together like 3 years ago or so before this baby shower. Sorry if this doesn't belong here. My kid's tricycle respawned and I'm freaking out. Posted by MikeGirl116. Obligatory on mobile. I'm a single mom of a toddler, 3-year-old female. So we live alone. Our backyard isn't humongous, but pretty large, especially for the city I live in. I also keep the gate locked because, toddler. On Tuesday, my mother came over while my daughter, I will call her Annie from now on, was in daycare to help me sweep up some leaves in the yard. Our neighbor has a gigantic tree that seems to dump all the leaves it had into my yard during the fall, but that's besides the point. My daughter has a tricycle and a bicycle that we just purchased so she can learn to ride. I put both of them next to an old car, not currently being used, waiting to sell it. I have parked in the driveway section of my yard to keep them out of the way when we were sweeping. I left them there when we were finished because they were out of the way. On Wednesday, my daughter came home from daycare and asked where her bike was. So I walked behind the car and only the new bicycle was there. I thought, that's strange. Then I figured maybe I moved it somewhere else or perhaps put it in the shed absent-mindedly after cleaning the yard. I checked the shed and no tricycle. I walked behind the shed, no bike. I checked all around both cars, my car and the sitting car, and this bike is nowhere to be found. I even went onto the upstairs porch and checked under the stairs. No bike anywhere. Then I started thinking that maybe someone stole it even though my gate was locked. I spent a good 5 minutes walking around our yard trying to find this bike, mostly walking around in circles and checking the same spots over and over again because, like I said, I live in the city, and although my yard is big for a house in the city, it is by no means acres of land. I counted it as a loss at that point and figured Annie would just have to learn how to ride her big girl bike. I walk up the 2 stairs to my porch and look to my right, and the freaking tricycle is right in front of my face. There's no possible way I could have missed it. I walked around the shed, pictures next to the tricycle, at least 3 to 4 times. I checked that area of the yard numerous times, not to mention it is a bright pink tricycle that was in black asphalt. My mom hit the floor. I have racked my brain since Wednesday trying to find an explanation and I just can't. Annie just also couldn't have found it and placed it there either because the whole time we were searching, she was literally right up my behind trying to be helpful. I have no idea where Annie's tricycle went to or came from, but what I am sure of is that it was not in my yard while I was looking for it and just appeared 20 seconds later as soon as I turned my back and Annie stopped caring about where it was. Even now, 2 days later, it is still freaking me out. P.S. It was only Annie and I at home at this time. Overlaid reality and a vanishing lady. Posted by Arif-Drazzle. Apologies if this has been posted before. It feels as though I did, but there is no record of such a post on this account or my old account, so I will share it again probably. Around 3 or 4 years ago, I experienced a very unusual day. Somehow the atmosphere was marked with a very distinct change. It was thinner and clearer, almost as if I were in a lucid dream. My father even noticed, commenting on how unusually pleasant everything felt. He went outside, looking around and exclaiming at how vivid the colors were today, urging me to come out. When I stepped outside, the first thing I noticed was a woman standing at the corner of her house. We live on a corner with a stop sign just a couple of feet from our lawn. There's a gate all around our property as well. The woman was standing next to the sign, facing right. Meanwhile, my dad was standing in the middle of the street in front of our house. He called me over to see the clouds. As I started walking towards the street, the woman began walking on the sidewalk towards our driveway. I took note of this and shut the gate on the way out, just on the off chance she may try to run into our yard. When I crossed the street, I suddenly felt normal. The surreal atmosphere had worn off. Sure, the sky was beautiful, but it didn't seem extraordinary. It took about 5 seconds to meet up with my dad after I closed the gate. I turned to look at the woman immediately afterwards, but she was gone. Where could she have gone in 5 seconds? I looked up the street in the direction she was walking. Nothing. Maybe I thought she entered a parked car really fast. But there were only 2 cars parked on the street, both locked and empty. I even looked down in the opposite direction and there was no sign of her. I rushed to look down the street that leads out of our neighborhood in case she had, for some reason, decided to sprint down that way. Again, there was no sign of her. My dad was confused as to why I was restless, and I told him that the woman who was standing by our house had vanished. He looked at me and said, "What woman?" So he didn't see her. It raised a red flag in my head. What if she really did break into our property, quickly and silently? I headed back to the house once again, feeling that bliss wash over me. It was too weird. She was not in our yard, nor was there any sign of a break-in. When my dad came back to the lawn, he again commented on how weird everything felt. He said it was almost as if our house was in some sort of bubble. I told him I felt the same way, almost as if we had entered a different reality. We agreed that the woman was probably from whatever reality our house was in, and by stepping out of the bubble, I could no longer perceive her. By the evening, that enchanted feeling had entirely faded away. The next day, nothing was out of the ordinary. I even checked weather reports to see if maybe there was a drastic barometer pressure shift. But that wasn't the case. It never happened again after that.